Hi, I'm Dale.
I'm Charlie.
And this is our climbing van, Ringo.
Dale's got a background in design and I've got a background in science, and I'm also a photographer. So those skills came in really useful when we were kind of not only designing what we wanted the van to look like, but kind of learning how to do all of the electrics and just kind of having a bit of a practical background for actually making the van as well. So if you don't want to sit here and watch the whole video, what we're going to do is we're going to walk through each section of the van. So we'll explain the kitchen, the water system, the bed, kind of all the different features, and then we'll just write in the comments what time in the video each bits are, so that you can kind of skip to the bits that are most useful to you. And we bought our van in January 2019, and it's taken us just over a year to convert it.
So we had a few objectives for the van. We spent a hell of a long time planning, so we were really keen to achieve a few specific things. So we really wanted a fixed bed. We know that we're lazy, we're not going to make a bed every single day, and we wanted that storage below it, so that was really important to us. We wanted a big kitchen, so we've got this L-shaped kitchen.
What the L-shaped kitchen means is that we've closed off the cab, but we kind of decided that that was something we wanted to do quite early, and that was part of the reason that we decided to get a long wheelbase Sprinter, so that we'd have the extra space and we wouldn't need to have the kind of cab open with swivel seats and that kind of thing.
I think the other thing that this allows is that when you're in the van and you've closed the doors, it doesn't feel like a van anymore. You are just in a little home on wheels.
So we spent just over a year doing up the van, but we both have full-time jobs and we also like climbing, so we didn't work on the van every single weekend. The amount of time that we actually spent doing up the van is the equivalent of 2 people working on the van every single weekend for 4 months. And that's about the equivalent of 1,000 hours, which is quite a lot of time.
Yeah. I'm sure if we did it again, we could do it with several hundred less than that, and if you did another one after that, probably get a similar saving again. But I think we were very pernickety about certain details, and we really wanted to understand everything that we'd done, so if we ever have any problems in the future, we're going to understand it and we can fix it quickly. But hopefully, because we spent a good amount of time, it won't break.
So when we were looking for a van, we had a budget in mind. We were initially looking around 8k. We knew that we wanted a long wheelbase Sprinter or Crafter, and we ended up spending £8,800. So then when we did the actual build, we kind of didn't have a strict budget in mind, but we just tried to save money everywhere that we could. So instead of buying everything new, we kind of set up a lot of eBay and Gumtree alerts for things like our fridge and the things that we knew were going to be the most expensive.
So I guess the really tricky bit is working out how much you should spend on the van. We'd heard of people converting long wheelbase Sprinters and doing like a relatively good job for about £3,000, and some people spend 20 grand. And for us it was very much a case of trying to do the best thing we could for what felt like a reasonable amount of money. So there's a lot of areas where we are probably quite proud that we did it really on the cheap.
Our overall spend on our build was around £6,700. We're both quite enjoy a spreadsheet, and so we did keep track of every single thing that we bought. But we're quite happy with that cost, considering the kind of functionality we've got, how livable the space is, and the kind of finish that we've got as well. So this is our kitchen. It's a nice big L shape, and the reason we went for that is because we wanted to have loads of room for cooking, storage, and not feel like it was super cramped. We've got a really big sink and a 4-hob cooker, and we just wanted it to feel like a proper kitchen that you'd have in a house, and that it didn't feel really cramped when you're trying to cook. So we've got this shoe storage at the front, which is super useful for just popping our shoes in when we get into the van. We've got these hooks for hanging coats up, so that we can kind of keep the van tidy when we're inside. These are our light switches. They control all of the lights in the van. So this is the front, we've got the back here as well, and then this is the fairy lights. We've also got more light switches by the bed so that we can kind of control them from bed as well. This is our overhead storage. Initially we were planning on having curtains here, but when we hung them up it kind of just looked like there was a tea towel hanging up. So we took that out and we built this, which is really nice. So this kind of opens up and gives us lots of storage above the cab. What we ended up doing was taking out the kind of bit above the cab and chopping it down and putting a platform in, which created this. That was one of the first things that we did in the van, and that's just given us a lot more storage. So then here we've got the sink, which is a mini Belfast sink. It's slightly ridiculous because it does weigh quite a lot, but we always knew that we wanted a Belfast sink just to give us loads of room for kind of washing up and just make it super easy, and it just looks really nice as well. And this is our tap. It's a domestic tap, so we had to find the right fittings to be able to connect it to our water system, but we just wanted to get something that we thought would look really nice in the van. We've got lots of storage around here, so there's kind of cutlery drawers and there's like various storage. We've got a lot more storage kind of under this corner, and the way that's accessed is you kind of go through one of these cupboards and then you can access it through there. So we're just using that storage for kind of extra food that we don't need to get to super often, but it just gives us a lot more room. And this is a spice rack from IKEA, which is what you see in most vans, and they're just really useful for storing lots of different bits and bobs. And then here we've got our overhead storage, which runs kind of the whole length of the van, but it's really useful for just storing kind of kitchen bits. And we've also got plugs in this one as well, so that if we want to put anything on charge we can kind of hide it away. We've also got switches here, and these control our fans overhead. So this one turns on the front fan and this one turns on the back one. The one in the kitchen sucks air out, and then there's one above the bed that kind of pushes air down, and so it just means that it keeps circulation in the van, and it kind of stops condensation. It's good when you're cooking and that kind of thing, and the fan is useful in the summer when it's a bit hot above the bed. This is our 4-ring hob. This is just a normal domestic hob. It's by Neff. We also made this little cookbook holder just out of birch ply and doweling. It's really nice just to have some books next to the kitchen. So this is our skylight. It's a Dometic one, and it kind of has handles so that you can lift it up and pop it open and let some air in. It has a fly net that pulls across here, and there's also a blackout blind that you can pull across for when you're sleeping. It's probably not one of our favourite purchases because when you pull the blackout blind across, it can kind of rattle quite a lot because it's a little bit leaky, so the wind kind of gets through and it makes quite a lot of noise at night. And it's also just quite sticky when you try and pull across the blind. It can kind of get stuck quite a lot, which is quite annoying. The thing that we did do is it kind of came with this big kind of cream moulding, which we didn't really want in the van because we knew that it would kind of look messy and it would just kind of stand out a lot against the ceiling. So we've ended up kind of hiding it beneath our cladding and not putting that kind of surround on, so that it means that it's kind of hidden away a bit more, which looks a lot better. We've got a projector screen that we keep in here, and we've got these 2 little hooks that we've just attached to the ceiling, so we can hook the projector screen on and pull it down, and we'll do a little video of that tonight with the projector all set up and show that to you then.
So this is our little projector. It's a ViewSonic M1 Mini. It's got a built-in battery pack. You can hook it up with a HDMI to your phone, plug it into an external power source, and it's actually surprisingly good for a little product. So to go with it, we bought off eBay for about £15, I remember, this little roll-out projector screen, which conveniently hooks up into the ceiling. And then rolls down. So we use our slide out table and we position it right at the end, which gets us a perfect distance away from the screen. Then use HDMI with an iPhone connector, plug it all in, and then log into Netflix, go through photos and videos from the day. So this is our seating and dining area. It consists of 2 benches, so this one's good for about 2 to 3 people, and this is a cosy 2-seater. So below here we've got some storage, and then on the other side we've got our electrical system, which we can go into a bit more detail later. So the main feature of our seating area, other than the seats, is our slide out table. So we slide out 600mm, so it's a fairly big table, and we made it out of the floorboards that we have in the van as well. So it uses 2 linear guides and a push to open feature, so it's now in its kind of locked state. So down here we've got 2 230-volt sockets, and then in that back corner we've got a little heating duct. So below the table we've got an additional drawer for smaller items. And you'll notice that when I push it back in, a little trapdoor has moved out of the way, revealing our U-shaped bench. We can keep on pulling it until we've created a mini bed. This also gives us really quick access to boot storage, which I can quickly fold back down, push under, and hide away.
So our electrical system is all below this bench. We've got our 2 180 amp hour batteries on the left, and then all of the other electrics are on the right. So all you need to do is remove this seat, and then we can access all of the systems in here. So at the back of here we've got 3 kill switches, which we can access by just tilting this forward. We've also got a 12-volt fuse box and our VSR, and then more towards the front, the easier to access parts, we've got a gas level monitor, we've got a water level monitor, and the switch for our water pump. We've also got the charge controller here for the solar panels. We've got the battery monitor so that we can see the state of the batteries, and we've also got the thermometer for the heater. The battery monitor that we decided to buy is a Victron battery monitor. The solar panels and the charge controller are also Victron, and they have some apps so that you can go on your phone and you can see the level of the batteries on your phone, and you can get a lot more information. So it means that when we want to check the level of the batteries, we don't have to keep coming in here, we can just check everything on our phone. So underneath all of this is our inverter. It's an 800 watt Sterling power inverter. So 800 watts is completely fine for us, and it would be completely fine for most people. It means that if you tried to plug something like a domestic kettle in, it would trip it, but that's kind of not an issue for us. We've spec'd it based on what we'll be using. And basically the way it works is we've just got a couple of extension cables plugged into that, and all of our sockets and some of our lights and various other things are kind of wired into that, and that's just hidden away below all of this. In this section we have our batteries. We've got 2 180 amp hour Varta batteries. We've got quite a lot of power, so we could kind of sit on our laptops playing movies and working and charging phones and things for a few days with no sun, and we'd be fine.
This is the top of our van. First bit we have is a nice little window with a Charlie behind it. We then have a vent followed by 3 solar panels and another vent at the back. And then right at the back we've got our little reversing camera, which is an absolute godsend with something this long.
So this is our bed. We went for a standard double bed lengthways, and that's because Dale's quite tall. That's part of the reason that we decided to buy a long wheelbase. But what it means is that we can just put a standard mattress in, and it gives us a lot of storage space next to the bed. So we decided to make this really nice little bedside table. But what it also means is that it lifts up here, and we've got some really deep storage space for kind of clothes and like lots of various bits and bobs, and it's super easy to access. So the overhead storage continues the full length of the van, and that means that we get lots of useful storage space above the bed as well. The other thing that I was really keen to do, because I love plants, was to have some of it open. So we created this little plant space here, and we just put a bit of doweling across, and it means that we can have a plant. It kind of, if you get the right size pot, it will stay in space while you're driving around, and it's just really nice to have a bit of greenery in the van. So here we've got more light switches and plugs. We were really keen to put light switches in the bedroom as well, so that we could turn off the bedroom lights and the fairy lights from bed, and we wouldn't have to get up and go to the kitchen to turn those off. We've also got more plugs here so that we can just charge our phones in bed. And we've also used these little kind of quarter doweling pieces to just tidy up some of the edges. So this is our bookcase. This is kind of giving us yet more storage, but this is kind of more visible storage. So we made this with birch ply and doweling, and we can put books here, guidebooks, and room for more plants as well.
So I've got the glamorous job of talking through the boot space. We're going to have a look at the water system, the gas, our shower, and just general storage. So we have a 65 litre water tank which feeds the tap in the main bit of the van and the shower here. That goes through to a SureFlow water pump and then into an accumulator, and then is distributed out to the two channels that way. So as you can see, our boot space is really comfortable. We've got plenty of room for the boiler and the heater. The heater was a really good Gumtree find. We set up alerts before we'd even started the project, and we got it for about a third of what it had cost to buy it new, and it's only a couple of years old and it's been working perfectly. So the gas heater links through to this manifold. So welcome to the underside of the van and our LPG tank. So you can also see our regulator there, and that we've mounted the LPG tank using FlexLink. So we have a Camplux outdoor shower, and I'm emphasising the outdoor bit, and that's why we've got it really close to the exit of the van. We don't have a chimney or any ducting coming off it, so it does need to be in a ventilated area. So at the flick of a switch, we can have a nice warm shower. So we've got both our water and our LPG fill points in this location. So we can just lift it up, unscrew the cap, add the funnel in, hook it on there and pour the water in. It's nice and simple. LPG was a little bit more complex. Initially you might notice that we have a hole here, and we did have the fill point there, but when you attach the large nozzle you have to rotate it around, and we found that it ended up clashing on the sides here. So we've now just moved it to this location. So where do you go to the toilet?
In a little bottle.